Hi, my name is Brody from Belfast. Thank you for the shout out. Super exciting. You made me and my mom shout our brains out of our heads. Anyways, my favorite movie is The Nightmare Before Christmas. I like the graphics, the monsters, the animations, the songs and all. I'm Jack Skellington. Do you think that it's a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? I'm very curious. Anyways, thank you again. My mom loves you guys. Bye.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love and growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I don't think they made movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper. And alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Gene, the Pumpkin King Lyons.
Nice work, Bone Daddy.
And each week, we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week, the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out our race car VHS tape rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of the podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective bottoms. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. But if you are under the age of 18, make sure you get parent or guardian approval to watch those shows, because Big D, tonight is a very special edition of Shat the Movies because we are doing a family-friendly movie, and so we are using family-friendly vernacular throughout tonight's episode.
Well, Roger, it's more than that. Way back, we got a voicemail from Brody from Belfast that she was a fan of the podcast with her mother, and that The Nightmare Before Christmas was her favorite movie. One of our listeners actually heard that and decided to commission this for her. So in order for her to listen to this, our traditional podcast, I don't think anyone should be listening, but definitely no one under the age of 18 should be listening. So for this podcast, this will be probably our one and only PG podcast. There will be no swearing. We're going to try to censor ourselves. We will do word replacement, and we'll see how it goes. But this is a special one. It was commissioned by Emmett in Orange, and it was The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And as always with our commissions, even if you're buying one on behalf of a young child that lives in another country, we ask you to write in with an email explaining why you sent in your hard-earned dollars to support the podcast. And Gene, you always do the liberties or take the liberties of reading those emails.
Roger, I'm just loving this fairy tale voice you're doing right now.
Yeah.
It's really quite nice.
I just learned that my mom listened to the episode. She listened to Scarface and Magnolia back to back. And I said, well, if you had to listen to those two podcasts for your first introduction into something that I've been doing for the last 4 years, you really dove into the deep end, Mom. I was like, well, did you like it? She's like, they were good. Yeah, I'm making my mom proud.
Well, Emmett in Orange writes in, oh, heck. That Brody was so cute going on about how you guys make her and her mum shat their brains out. I'll tell you what, I have never watched The Nightmare Before Christmas and would love to sponsor it on behalf of Brody and all of us fans. I'll watch it with my wife and 9-year-old daughter, who also loves Back to the Future, E.T., and Beetlejuice, before we listen to your review too, and be just as curious how you rank it. Christmas or Halloween? Sort of like Groundhog Day is a Christmas movie, right? Just another huge thank you for all you guys do. Over 120 movies, and I've listened to nearly all of them. Brody and Shat fans, Merry Christmas from Emmett in Orange.
And I think Big D, you reached out to then Brody and Gail and told them this Christmas miracle that has occurred and asked them to send in their thoughts of this movie and what it means to their family. And Gene, you have that email in front of you.
I do, and once again, I'll spare you the Irish accent. Brody and Gail write, "Hi guys, it's Gail and Brody. So we settle down to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. The first thing Brody says is that she prefers Studio Ghibli movies like Ponyo and My Neighbor Totoro, but this is by far her favorite Disney movie. Now, I was reared on Disney, and I've got her to watch most of them, so she knows what she likes. She also tends to lean toward creepy stuff like Coraline, Nine, and Beetlejuice. She has seen it, I'm sure, over 10 times, although I think it's more. Knows every word of the songs, especially when she got the soundtrack as a stocking filler one Christmas. She loves the stop motion animation and can't imagine how long it must have taken to make, and loves how ghostly Zero is. She loves Jack getting sucked into Christmas, but would still prefer to live in Halloweentown, especially in Sally's Tower, surrounded by the cool, spooky trees. And of course, Jack is super cool from his awesome bed, fab clothes, and thinks he makes a great Santa. Oogie Boogie's song and Trick or Treaters are her favorites too. I explained one of them is Pee Wee Herman and gave my best impression, and now she wants to watch that too. Thankfully, everything works out in the end. Jack and Sally have a romantic song and a kiss. Yuck. I'm sure this will be watched every Christmas in our house. We have pop heads, cushions, and plushes, and to be all from a movie made in '93, that's some achievement for a 10-year-old kid. We wish you all and Emmett a magical and wonderful Christmas and a spooky New Year. Love, Gail and Brody. P.S. It's definitely a Christmas movie.
Well, The Nightmare Before Christmas is a 1993 American stop-motion animated musical dark fantasy film directed by Henry Selick and produced and conceived by Tim Burton. It tells the story of Jack Skellington, the king of Halloweentown, who stumbles through a portal to Christmastown and decides to celebrate the holiday. Danny Elfman wrote the songs and score and provided the singing voice of Jack, and the principal voice cast also includes Chris Sarandon, Catherine O'Hara, William Hickey, Ken Page, Paul Rubens, Glenn Shaddix, and Ed Ivory. The Nightmare Before Christmas originated in a poem written by Burton in 1982 while he was working as an animator at Walt Disney Feature Animation. With the success of Vincent in the same year, Burton began to consider developing The Nightmare Before Christmas as either a short film or a 30-minute television special to no avail. Over the years, Burton's thoughts regularly returned to the project, and in 1990, he made a development deal with Walt Disney Studios. Production started in July of 1991 in San Francisco, and Disney released the film through Touchstone Pictures because the studio believed the film would be too dark and scary for children. The film was met, though, with critical and financial success, grossing over $76 million during its initial run. It was nominated for the Academy Award for Visual Effects, a first for an animated film at that time. The film has since then been reissued by Walt Disney Pictures and was re-released annually in Disney Digital 3D from 2006 to 2009, making it the first stop-motion animated feature to be entirely converted to 3D. Before we start the podcast and go through our review, we always ask the question, where were you, or what are your memories the first time you watched The Nightmare Before Christmas? We'll start with you, Big D.
So a lot of people on Thanksgiving, they'll watch, A Christmas Story, the marathon. They'll watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. For me, as a child of the 80s, I've always been emotionally connected to the classics of the 60s. And it seemed like the 60s was the best time for these holiday movies. You had Charlie Brown Christmas, The Grinch That Stole Christmas. You have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. Those are all classics. I will watch them every year, but I had never watched Nightmare Before Christmas until yesterday.
Okay, boomer.
Oh.
As a goth and a fan of both Halloween parties and Christmas parties, and basically parties in general, I've been to somewhere around 100 gatherings where this movie was on in the background. And I always thought it looked interesting, but I'm not going to stop mingling to watch it. There's drinking to be done. There's dancing to be done. After watching it for the podcast, for Brody, I'm fairly convinced that most Americans haven't actively watched this movie past the scene where Jack first walks onto that curl of earth and is framed by the moon. I think at that point, everybody's like, so anyway, where's the candy?
Yeah, Gene, like you, I had never seen this movie in its entirety. I never really it never really interested me as it seemed directed towards a different type of crowd. You know, the ones that shop at Hot Topic and stay away from the sun and outfit their decades-old Toyota Corollas with Jack Skellington and Sally bumper stickers. Big D knows the kind of cars I'm talking about because they clog the roads of Orlando, Florida, and the Walt Disney World employee parking lots. What I didn't realize when I did watch it for the first time today, I didn't know how much of this movie has inhabited my brain through osmosis. And I believe it's because during that decade that I worked at Planet Hollywood, Orlando, not only did it have sets and props at the restaurant, but during the holiday season, right after Thanksgiving, they would put on the reel, they would play nothing but holiday songs from movies. What's This was featured as one of those. And the reel is about 90 minutes long. So during, especially on the weekends, when you would pull a double, you'd be working 16 hours and you would hear, what's this? What's this? There's magic everywhere. What's this? There's snow in the air. There's white things in the air. Like you would. So I knew this song. I was singing along to it. And I'm like, I've never watched this movie. How do I know this? And then in the deep, dark annals of my brain, that's where this movie has resided for the past, I don't know, almost 20 years.
Roger, thank you for being kind enough to call them a different kind of crowd and really not blanket statement that these Hot Topic, Jack Skellington, Sally fans are goths. They might be a subclass of goth, but even goths stay away from these people.
Yeah, it's total malarkey.
Fudge knuckles.
Whoa.
Well, with that being said, Big D, play the trailer.
Welcome to an extraordinary world filled with magic and wonder. Open your mind and let yourself go to a place where every day is Halloween and every night Jack Skellington
I am the Pumpkin King!
dreams of something different.
What is this? It's someplace new.
Jack, look out!
Whoa! What's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air. What's this? I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair. What is this?
Haven't you heard of peace on earth and goodwill toward men?
Touchstone Pictures presents the enchanting story of two very special dreamers and the holiday spirit that brought them together. From the imagination of Tim Burton comes The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And what did Santa bring you, honey?
Halloweentown is a fantasy world filled with various monsters and supernatural beings associated with the holiday. Jack Skellington, also known as the Pumpkin King and leader of the town, leads them in organizing the annual Halloween celebrations. However, privately, Jack has grown weary of the same routine year after year and wants something new. Wandering in the woods the morning after Halloween, he stumbles across 7 trees containing doors leading to towns representing various holidays and opens a portal into Christmastown.
So I wonder how many people who watch this movie even realize what they're watching and the time that it took to make it. This isn't animation. This is stop motion. It's much like the AT-ATs in Empire Strikes Back, where you have a physical mannequin that has tiny joints that you will move a little bit each time. They take single frame shots. So very little of The Nightmare Before Christmas is actually drawn. And it takes so long to do this that Selleck, he put together a team of over 100 specialists. You had trained animators, camera operators, puppet makers, set builders, and they actually started the production before they even had a finished screenplay. So every second of film is 24 single frame photos. So the animators would have to create all of these poses, 110,000 frames in total. 1 minute of the movie took actually a week to shoot. Many of the effects are even complicated more by the lights. The lights aren't added after, they're on set. So if they have any mistake, 1 frame is off, you hit any of the puppets, the heads don't match, they would have to go back and reshoot an entire scene. So this movie took 3 years. It is painstakingly crafted, and I think it is a work of art.
And you can tell how much effort went into this. Big D, you referenced, say, Rudolph from the 60s, which was, I believe, claymation or also stop motion. When they did that movie, the camera is usually always from the side. It's a very flat view. In this movie, the camera is moving all around the place. You got sweeping shots, overhead shots, perspective shots, and that's really, really tough to do while doing stop motion. So I could see what the temptation would have been for everybody involved in the project to be like, Scrooge it. But they did it. And so from a technical perspective, this movie is astounding. It is a work of art. I completely agree. I just wish they had spent as much effort on the script, which absolutely feels as an afterthought. Because as I'm watching this, I'm like, I get that it's for kids, but I've seen children's movies. They're not this simple and silly.
It seems like a Broadway show put on by 12th graders. 12th graders that are then performing it in front of middle schoolers, and the middle schoolers have brought their elementary age siblings.
But even an elementary school or a middle school production, if it's a musical, you would expect it to have, I don't know, good music. The opening song, which is the showcase of this movie, is This Is Halloween, right? It's probably the most popular song from this movie. It literally makes my stomach turn. And I don't mean because of creepy crawly things. It's just so repetitive. They cram all the words in there and it doesn't really follow any sort of a melody. Musicals only work if their songs are good. And instead of selling me on a new vision for children's movies as some sort of an inventor, Nightmare made me actually miss Disney classics, which I'm not really even that big a fan of. As mainstream as Disney movies are, the music is much more catchy. Now, I'm a Danny Elfman fan. I love his work. He's a terrific composer. But notice that all of his hits, whether it was Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Batman, Big Fish, they all had music but no lyrics. In the case of Nightmare, I felt like they just took words that sort of rhymed. You know, This is Halloween, everybody make a scene. And then they cobbled some music around it. None of these songs are memorable unless, like Raj, you heard them on loop all day long. And the closest you get is that touchingly melancholy Sally song. And it's like super short and ruined by the voice of Catherine O'Hara, who's the mom from Home Alone. Who told her she was allowed to sing?
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think this is a 12th grade musical because they're talented. Elfman's talented. The singing is, I think, is superb. But it's like you did the music and you said, okay, let's get a circus band. We're going to put them over in that tent. You're going to write music. And then we're going to get some other people. We're going to give them hallucinogens. We're going to put them in another tent. They're going to write lyrics. And then we'll get together and whatever comes out, comes out. And that's what we got. It sounded like people banging on trash cans. And it just, after a while, it got tiring.
Hey, everybody, my head was a pumpkin. Look out, it's stinky. Look over there, it's a blumpkin. Like, what?
I wonder how much of the limitations of the script are because it's so arduous to make 1 minute of a scene. And so they're just like, after the third week, I'd be like, let's just get this movie done. Let's make this 30 minutes. And that was the one thing I really liked about this movie is that it's only 76 minutes long, I think and at the end of it, 3 years of my life, my hair would be pulled out. Like I would lose all my friends and family because I would be so stressed out to make, again, the technical achievements that this movie has forged is unreal. Oh, I'm going to say that from the beginning. But again, it's difficult to become attached to some of these characters because they're just trying to cram in all their songs and just get through the movie, because I could identify as someone with Jack Skellington. Gene can attest to this, Big D. Raj is a sad Raj after Halloween because Halloween has now become a full month. There's parties, there's costumed events, there's gatherings, there's bar crawls. Right after Halloween, that month between Halloween and Thanksgiving where there's no dress up, there's nothing, I'm very scared. I'm looking forward to Christmas, to when I can break out my Krampus outfit. I can break out my reindeer onesie and my ugly sweater and drink eggnog with friends. And I think that's the same thing that Tim Burton went through. So Tim Burton also grew up in a warm climate area. He grew up in Southern California. I grew up in Florida. And the only way that we were able to gauge what season it was is by the merchandise that was on our local department stores or Walmarts. So this inspired him, this melding of Halloween and Christmas, because Thanksgiving is kind of overlooked these days. That's what inspired him to create a character that goes and says, hey, I want something more. I want to explore this other holiday, this other thing. I want to see what's going on there, because I don't just want to do Halloween over and over and over again. And I think that's how it is for me now. I look forward to Christmas because I can go in Christmas cosplay.
So I want to touch back on something that Gene said, that he wishes they focus more on the plot. They started filming without a script. You cannot undersell that. They thought it was more important to have the visuals. Okay, here's the character. Just start filming. We're going to tell you what he's doing later. And I always think back to Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park. He says, the scientists were so preoccupied on whether or not they could do something, they didn't stop to think, should we? They should have waited for a good plot. And most movies, we will break up the bucket and we'll talk about it. But because this is just 70 some odd minutes, and it's basically one song into the next, and it's the camera moving and characters, and it's difficult to break down. I have to call out some shortcomings that people might be like, oh, come on, you're nitpicking in the plot. But there's nothing else we can do with this movie. So I'm going to start out by saying that Halloweentown, it's fudge. It's fudged up. You think Halloweentown, it's full of goblins and ghosts. You know, they'd be roaming the earth, scaring kids or doing something. But that's not the case. Everybody in H-Town doesn't seem to really know how to celebrate Halloween. The entire Halloween seems to consist of them setting Jack on fire, riding him down to the town square on some strange wooden horse, and watching him jump into the fountain. What is going on in H-Town? This makes no sense.
Well, the bigger question of what's going on in H-Town is, where are the other holidays? Where's Hanukkah Town? Like, we see the doors to all these holiday worlds, and there is a lot missing. And so we get to look at some of the entrances, and it's very quick. I had to pause. I had to rewind. But you see, obviously, Halloweentown. But then there's also the towns, but they seem to be only rooted in Christian traditions. Like, there's Christmas, Easter, St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, and then American celebrations like Thanksgiving and the 4th of July. These are supposed to be holidays of old, holidays rooted in great grand traditions. Guys, Independence Day and Thanksgiving wasn't celebrated officially until the 18th century. Literally, the vast majority of holidays celebrated by the vast majority of the Halloween population go unrepresented in this movie, which feels wrong.
Well, I mean, this movie already got in trouble with the NAACP. Can you imagine if they tried to do a Hanukkah thing? Because the whole thing rides on stereotypes, right? It's stereotypes of Halloween, stereotypes of Christmas. Could you imagine Hanukkah Town would have been, you would have had all sorts of Jewish groups freaking the fudge out over this.
Well, when I saw this fact, I was like, man, what could the sequel be? What other mashups could we do? So I have a sequel that could involve Hanukkah Town, and it's going to be called The 8 Days Before Mardi Gras.
Woo, okay? Sherry!
I want to see an animated rabbi try to make Hanukkah more colorful. I want him to incorporate parades, masks, costumes, throwing of beads, maybe removing of clothes, king cakes. I want to see him turn Hanukkah into a real celebration.
Big D, I'm going to Carnival in February. Maybe I'll try to film a mini film of the 8 Days Before Mardi Gras with me as the rabbi.
I just want to point out that during the day at Mardi Gras, it's very family friendly. There's no banana shenanigans that are happening. There's no beads being thrown out for balderdash that's happening on the streets that you do once the lights go down in Mardi Gras. So I could see that there could be some sort of 8 days of Mardi Gras, but I don't know how you guys felt about this, but do you think this would be better if it had just been the Beetlejuice Christmas adventure? Like, keep all the animation because it looks almost the same. Jack Skellington is almost dressed like Beetlejuice. Just make this the Beetlejuice Christmas adventure.
I thought it was a Beetlejuice Christmas adventure. The castle looks the same. Oh, we have a character that's creator is trying to control them. Oh, they're talking about hands and arms, and the character wants to be free. It just, there's the worm from Beetlejuice. It's all, he keeps reusing the same stuff.
So what you're suggesting is a Beetlejuice / Edward Scissorhands matchup.
I'm just saying this is a Tim Burton Christmas. Beetlejuice could be there. It could Batman could be there. It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Michelle Pfeiffer is Catwoman.
Maybe.
Danny DeVito is the Penguin, which is, I think, the best version of the Penguin. Well, awed by the unfamiliar holiday, Jack returns to Halloweentown to show the residents his findings, but they fail to grasp the idea of Christmas and compare everything to their ideas of Halloween, although they do relate one Christmastown character, a red lobster-like king who flies at night called Santa Claus. Jack sequesters himself in his tower to study Christmas and finds a way to rationally explain it, but cannot. He ultimately decides that it's unfair for Christmastown to alone enjoy the holiday and announces that he and the citizens of Halloweentown will take over Christmas this year.
So how is Jack the Pumpkin King? I mean, most of the movie deals with the fact that Jack, he has this vague title, Pumpkin King. Oh, and poor Jack, pity party. He's grown tired of it. He's got to sing songs. I'd give it up if I could. So what's stopping him from doing that? Just retire. Give up. Don't be the Pumpkin King. Just relax. They think that he's the scariest character in H-Town. He's not even one of the top 10. He's a skeleton in a suit. He's not the top 10 scariest characters in H-Town.
I think Jack is like a cool guy. Like he's a cool hipster skeleton that everyone looks up to and is entranced by. And he's like cool Rick from Rick and Morty.
I think Jack's unstable at best. He just will walk around kind of sing-songy and then occasionally get really close to the camera and make a face. You're like, oh, that's scary. He's annoying. His voice is annoying. And I was like, oh, what an awful and irritating voice. Then I was like, oh my gosh, it's Chris Sarandon from The Princess Bride. It's Prince Humperdinck. What? He's so enjoyable in The Princess Bride. How did he become such an annoying character? And then I'm like, and then I started thinking, well, his singing voice is what's annoying about it. And that's not even his singing voice. That's Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman from Oingo Boingo. You were in a band. Why can't you sing? Every song is oversung. It sounds like you guys said a 12th grade musical. It's amateurish. It's messy. The voice sometimes doesn't match the stop motion. I definitely know I'm listening to a voiceover. It doesn't look like it's coming from the screen like a lot of Disney animated stuff. Give me a little creep factor. You know what I want to see? I want to see Jack Skellington voiced by Tom Waits because he can sound creepy and he can sing.
You just have an obsession with Tom Waits.
I do.
Had to look. I don't know who Tom Waits is.
He was Renfield.
I know
Dracula.
who he is, but outside of Renfield.
He's a singer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it seems like the entire town walks around on eggshells, especially the mayor with Jack. Oh, tiptoe around Jack. Why does everybody in the town tiptoe around him? And why are they okay with Dr. Finkelstein, the way he's treating Sally? She's basically a slave. She's held against her will in the castle. She's forced to do labor, spend most of the movie trying to escape from this cruel master. He's dragging her around town. Oh, you drugged me again. Come with me. No one in the town is saying anything. This is obviously troublesome enough. But what makes it even worse is that Jack, who later gets into a relationship with her, he's the most powerful man in H-Town. He could, you got to believe, he could raise a hand and say, guys, there's a woman up in that castle being enslaved by some evil snickerdoodle scientist up there. Why don't we go help?
Well, I think Sally is like every woman who has a crush on Jean Lyons. You know, she's like a Frankenstein monster creation, a broken woman pieced together by a fractured past that longs for the coolest guy in town or goth club. And she just wants him to notice her. And so she's waiting for that moment where he'll saddle up with, a craft beer and look at her from across the room and sing, "See me, see me.
See me.
Why won't you see me?
See me. Ha ha ha. Gene."
Look, I mean, she's got to get rid of that like late 90s, early 2000s pinup thing going on with her dresses, though. I mean, the way that she's, I don't know why they had to give her sort of that sexual allure in this movie that made me deeply uncomfortable. But the whole thing, the entire presentation, we keep calling it, visually genius. Yes, the technique is good, but I'd call this movie, it's not creepy. It's not scary. It's spoopy at best. Like, I don't understand how people who love spooky things, as you mentioned, Raj, these Hot Topic people who have the Jack Skellington stickers on their Corollas. I don't know how they can also love when the spooky things that we all allegedly love get neutered. I mean, absolutely neutered. The teeth are taken out of all these characters. It's like when people who say they like rock and roll, like the Decemberists. You know, Tim Burton has taken all the heart out of our favorite monsters. I know it's a kid's movie, but I don't have to like it as an adult. And honestly, I think kids would like it better if they just upped the creep factor, up the darkness a lot. These felt like characters that were dressed up as Halloween characters, not the actual residents of Halloweentown.
I think the scariest character in town is the slave master and his poor slave who's crying out for help. She doesn't love Jack. She wants him to come save her.
Well, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, guys, but actually in early versions of the script, you talk about how the script was underdeveloped and wasn't quite ready for prime time when they started animating. The evil scientist was designed originally to be the villain, and then unfortunately they changed it to Oogie Boogie.
It's because he is the villain.
Tim Burton was like, he's not black enough.
Jack assigns the citizens of Halloweentown Christmas-themed jobs, including singing carols, making presents, and building a sleigh to be pulled by skeletal reindeer. Sally, the beautiful ragdoll woman that is secretly in love with Jack, is assigned to this task of sewing him a red coat to wear. He also tasks Lock, Shock, and Barrel to abduct Santa Claus, and Jack tells Santa he will be bringing Christmas to the world in his place this year. Now, while the trio was supposed to keep Santa safe, Oogie Boogie, a gambling-addicted boogeyman, captures Santa and Sally in a plot to kill Santa Claus.
So you ask why this movie is so popular, and I had never seen it, but I had seen, like you said, all the tattoos, all the artwork from it, the visuals. That's what sticks in people's heads. But that gets tired quick. The awe that I was feeling in the first couple minutes, it quickly fades. And I'm starting to think, what is this story? What is going on? Frozen 2 has a better plot than this. And I'm starting to get tired. I wanted there to be more to like, and I just feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, Big D, 46 minutes felt like 90. And I found myself doing the thing that is a telltale sign of a bad movie for us, where I paused the movie to see how much time is left. And I was like, thank gosh, it's only 70 something minutes long. I understand that this film is intended to be more artistic showcase than a gripping tale, but this is a Hollywood production. You should be able to do both. Give us something to be interested in, somebody to root for, some reason to take notice of this movie.
I fell asleep 4 times. I had the unfortunate experience where I had to keep rewatching things. It felt like I was back at Planet Hollywood and rewatching scenes on a loop, because I would fall asleep, I'd wake up, the movie would be over, because again, it's only 76 minutes, and I had to rewind back to that spot. I'd fall asleep after about 15 minutes, then have to get up, rewind it again. So I was in this Groundhog Day experience with Nightmare Before Christmas.
I think that might be your advanced age, though, not the movie.
How dare you? How dare you?
But there's also issues with the plot that they have going forward that doesn't make sense. So Jack starts giving out his duties. He delegates some jobs because he's going to bring Christmas to H-Town. So he has the 3 little trick-or-treaters. So they look like kids wearing masks, and it's Lock, Shock, and Barrel. And he says, you guys have something special to do. You're going to go to Christmastown. You're going to kidnap Santa. So they have time. They sing a song. They go through the forest, and the forest looks amazing. The forest looks better than I think those busy town center shots, just the shadows, but I digress. So they go through the woods, they kidnap the Easter Bunny by mistake, and they come back to Jack. It seems like before he's even given out the assignments. They did that real quick. He then says, no, you got to go get Santa. Go get Santa Claus. It takes them 30 days, according to the town clock. Considering the Easter Bunny took an hour, what the heck are they doing that took 30 days?
Pranks and hijinks. They're fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're probably out conspiring with Oogie Boogie, my least favorite part of this movie. The part that greatly disturbed me. And I was like, I can't be alone in this. I can't be the only person that noticed how behind the times and messed up the concept of Oogie Boogie is. And it turns out I'm not. So there's one, I'll use in quotation marks, black character. And I'm saying that based on style. And he's got to be the Oogie Boogie man. and he doesn't even get to be black. They made him like a sack color. And if you've never seen this movie, you don't know what Oogie Boogie is. Just imagine like one 40-minute long Screamin' Jay Hawkins impersonation. I had a problem with this. I had to look into it because I'm like, this just feels so unlike Tim Burton to have a character like this. What's going on? Well, it turns out I'm not the only person who saw this. Tim Burton made a dozen movies before introducing his first black character, and that was in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And when they asked him about his track record of all white casts, on camera at least, Tim Burton said, this is his defense. I remember back when I was a child watching the Brady Bunch, and they started getting all politically correct. Like, okay, let's have an Asian child and a black. I used to get more offended by that than just, I grew up watching blaxploitation movies, right? And I said, that's great. I didn't go like, okay, there should be more white people in these movies.
So I've never seen Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, but is the black kid just the lone black kid? Like he doesn't have any kind of superpowers or anything like that? There's nothing wrong with him. They're like, what's peculiar about you? He's like, I'm just the black guy. I'm just the black kid that's here. They're like, oh, that's very peculiar. You're in a Tim Burton movie. It's very peculiar that you're here right now.
Yeah, listen, no disrespect to Tim Burton, who made Big Fish my favorite movie of all time, maybe with the exception of Inception, but there was a point where I had to stop watching his movies. Now Burton's not alone in this because Danny Elfman gets in on the act too. So Danny Elfman was worried that the characterization of Oogie Boogie would be considered racist by the NAACP. Let's go back to the fact that this character's name is Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
Elfman's predictions came true. The NAACP did get upset. Then the director was like, oh, no. This character was inspired by the Betty Boop cartoon, The Old Man of the Mountain. And then this is the director, Henry Selick's explanation. See, Cab Calloway would dance his inimitable jazz dance and then sing Minnie the Moocher or Old Man of the Mountain. And then they'd rotoscope him and trace him and then turn him into a cartoon character, often transforming him into an animal like a walrus. I think those are some of the most inventive moments in cartoon history, in no way racist, even though he was sometimes a villain. And then to add fuel to the fire, he actually talks about the actor who played Oogie Boogie. We went with Ken Page, who is a black singer, and he had no problem with it. Well, I guess it's okay then, Henry.
I just love that his defense was, we went back to the old cartoons of the 30s and 40s as a defense. Like,
okay, so I don't give a darn about what race Oogie Boogie is. He's a sociopath. Don't gloss over that. He could be black, white, yellow, brown, whatever. He's pretty much a serial killer. Now, Disney villains, they normally have some kind of objective. They're evil. They want to do bad things, but it's for a reason. You got Jafar in Aladdin. He wanted to be the Sultan. Cruella de Vil wanted a fur dog coat, right? What does Oogie Boogie want? He just wants to torture and murder people. What did Santa do? Nothing. This definitely isn't the first person that Oogie Boogie's lured down into the basement and killed. The entire house is an elaborate killing machine. There's bones all over the floor. This is a kid's movie. What was Oogie Boogie doing?
That's what I'm saying. You've got the one black character in Halloweentown, in any of the towns, and they put him in a basement. He's a degenerate gambler, and he kills people. Great job, Tim. Great job.
Well, Jack departs to deliver presents to the world, but the Halloween-styled gifts terrify and attack the populace. The military takes action and shoots down Jack, causing him to crash in a cemetery. Jack survives, however, finding he enjoyed the experience of scaring children, reigniting his love of Halloween. Jack returns to Halloweentown and finds Oogie's lair. Oogie tries to kill Jack, but Jack pulls apart the thread holding his cloth form together, revealing a massive pile of bugs that fall into Oogie's cauldron and is killed. Jack apologizes to Santa for his actions, and Santa assures Jack that he can fix things and returns to Christmastown.
So finally, this far in the movie, I get like a combined 2 minutes of enjoyment. The only part of the film I didn't absolutely dread was it was a little fun watching the kids get terrorized by the dangerous gifts from Jack. The closest thing to a working joke is the kid who got a severed head, And then along with that was the Oogie Boogie reveal, with the bugs. It's the first time in the movie I saw anything even remotely creepy or unpredictable or inventive. It really highlighted how much this movie needed to punch up the creep factor. Just, scare the heck out of some kids. That's what I want to see.
See, I think you're right. I think Burton's other stuff, he pushed the envelope. Beetlejuice got a little dark. It got scary. You didn't know what Beetlejuice was going to do. But as far as a medium, this stop motion and animation, that's Burton's bread and butter. It always seemed like in the other movies that we've done, Edward Scissorhands, that he was kind of held back by the limitations of the technology. It's almost a good and a bad thing. Here, because of the medium, he could do whatever he wants. Maybe it's better if he does film because it forces him to hold back. This was just, what can I do? And let's give you just 1,000% of it. It was just overload, sensory overload.
Well, I think the message here of the movie also is that the road to heck is paved with good intentions. Like, he wanted something different for himself, but he realized that what he wanted was always in front of him. I don't know if that's the message. Usually these movies have some sort of message, but I was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to learn here from this movie? Is it because heck is a scary place and we can get bored with that scary place? And if I try to go do something else, even though I have good intentions, really where I should be is where I have been all along.
I just wish you'd asked the members of the town what they thought.
Well, as Santa replaces the Halloween-style presents with genuine ones, the townspeople of Halloween celebrate Jack's survival and return. Santa then visits Halloweentown and brings them a snowfall for the residents to play with, which in a way fulfills Jack's original dream. In the graveyard, Jack and Sally declare their love for each other. They sing, they hug, they kiss. End movie. So guys, I gotta ask this. It was noted in some of the letters. Is this a Christmas movie, or is it a Halloween movie, or is it that gray area between Halloween and Christmas? When do you watch this?
No, I think this is obvious. It's a Christmas movie. Now, everyone involved with the film has come out and said that's a Halloween movie. I don't think they're right. I mean, they may have intended it to be, but the entire movie focuses on Christmas. Actually, the run-up to Christmas. And with the whole title has Christmas in it. It doesn't have Halloween in it. And if you go into what the meaning is, Raj, and what the theme is, it's actually about what is Christmas about? What's the true meaning? It's more The Grinch That Stole Christmas than any other Halloween movie. This is, without a doubt, a Christmas movie.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I've seen people dress up on Halloween as Jack Skellington and then reuse that for their Christmas events later on. And maybe I should like this because have you guys seen all the recent events that are focused around this movie? Gene, I don't know if you're subscribed to some of these newsletters, but there are a lot of events that are happening right now. Big D, in your backyard this weekend, when we're recording this, so this will come out after this, but on Friday the 13th at the Player One video game bar right down the street from your house.
I've been there.
Yeah. That you can revel in Bad Dream Fun, enjoy craft brews, and play video games at the Nightmare Before Christmas party right there. So you can break out your Oogie Boogie costume and you can go down there and you can hang out with all the fans. If you're not going to be in Orlando, Florida, the following weekend on the 20th, the Elysium nightclub in Austin, Texas is hosting a festival devoted to the cult classic, and it's strictly for fans 18 and older though. So unfortunately, our fan Brody can't go, but the Nightmare Before Christmas Gothic Ball, Gene, I think this would be right up your alley, will have video sing-alongs and all-night cast that includes Jackie Skellington, Sal the Ragdoll, Zero, Sandy Claus, and Oogie Boogie. They're all going to make appearances there. So if you're in or around Austin, Texas, but if you're in Las Vegas, a little bit closer to us, Gene, we could take a quick Southwest flight up to the Nightmare Before Christmas beer-themed festival where you and I can have a scary good time. And this beer festival is hosted by Rockstar Beer Fest. So maybe I should like this movie more.
These all sound like traps where goth firing squads are waiting to pick off imposters because, first of all, there's now a festival for everything. There, in my backyard a couple of months ago, they had a donut 5K. It's like, what's a donut 5K? Well, you sign up, you run a 5K. At the end, you get a donut. And I was like, what does this cost? $35. And it's sold out. I was like, dude, I could just run to the donut shop, get a donut, and run home. What's the festival for?
You wouldn't get a t-shirt.
Oh. Speaking of t-shirts, guys, shatthemovies.com/merch. Go get your t-shirts today. Use promo code SHAT20 for 20% off.
Yeah. Well, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, 0 wipes is a perfect movie and 5 wipes is a terrible movie. By the way, you can buy a 0 wipes t-shirt by going to shatthemovies.com/merch and saves 20% by using the promo code SHAT20, SHAT20. We'll start with you, Big D. How many wipes do you give The Nightmare Before Christmas?
So I think you have to divide a film up into 2 equal parts. What does it look like? What's the production value? And then what is the story? It is visually stunning. It's a technical achievement, but they obviously focused on one half, style over substance. You can't start a film without a script, or you're going to end up with something that's a mess. So I wish that their priorities had been more balanced, because I think if you had a script that matched the craftsmanship and the love that was put in, it would have been something that would have been amazing. People who love the movie, they seem to love it because of the characters. They might not love it because of what's actually on film. And for that, I mean, I think it's better than average, but not much better. It's a 2.0, even though I feel bad, Brody. I'm sorry. I'm glad to hear that you like some other movies more than this. Even though it's only 76 minutes, I doubt I'm ever going to watch this again. So 2 wipes for me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Big D. I applaud the effort and the creativity. The songs even themselves aren't that bad. I just found myself bored. And I also think this is a very specific target audience. This is made for people who don't want to give up their dark clothes over the holiday season. They want to wear something that says Christmas, but they're cooler and they're different than a mainstream audience. And so that's where Jack Skellington and Oogie Boogie and all these characters from this movie, or the Schlock, Lock, and Barrel. What is the Schlock, Lock? What was the 3
Lock, Shock, and Barrel?
Those guys. Like, they want to wear those themed things, and they want to go to these Elysian festivals. That's what they want. Like, I could not put this movie in the background on Christmas morning in Ormond Beach when I'm opening presents with my very devout Church of Christ aunt and uncle. Like, I could not put this movie. Any other Christmas movie, you could possibly do that. But like Big D says, there really does seem to be a love for this movie amongst its audience, as niche as it is. It only had a running time of, just over, 70 minutes. It's under 80 minutes long. And at least it tries to do something different, something creative with a Christmas story. So for that, it's right around Big D. I think it's an average movie. It's not the best Christmas movie. It's not the worst. They're trying something different. So I'm a little bit lower than you, Big D, at 2.5. So that leaves you, Gene. You're a resident black pants goth club going guy. I figured you would love this movie. So what is your wipe score?
I'm going to start out by saying I love you, Emmett, Brody, and Gail. I do not want to crush that Christmas spirit that's going on between all of you, this Christmas triangle that we've got going on. I am sorry. I really appreciate all the hard work that went into the stop motion, but I disagree with every bit of praise that's been heaped on this movie. I don't know if you guys know this, but Rotten Tomatoes, it has a score of over 90% fresh. The critics were raving about this movie. Audiences liked it even more. But let's look at what makes a great movie. Is this movie inventive? Not at all. This is more of the same that we've always seen from Tim Burton. It just feels like they opened up the back catalog of Tim Burton's other stuff and threw it all in there. Is it a musical? Like, only in the basic sense of the word. The songs are awful. They're unmemorable. They're annoying. Is it funny? I think that Disney and Pixar make animated films that have jokes that hit on multiple levels so that an adult watching with their kid, they can all be entertained. These jokes are predictable, so perhaps they are simple enough for kids, but I think they do nothing for adults. I don't know if either of you guys laughed at any point during this movie. No? Okay.
No.
Nope.
I smiled at the head.
Yeah.
But that's like you said, that's from Beetlejuice. That's the shrunken head guy.
Right. The 80 minutes to me felt like 3 hours. I felt like Alex in A Clockwork Orange getting the Ludovico treatment. Like they were just forcing me to watch something so nauseating that I'm half afraid I'll vomit the next time I hear the mention of Halloween or Christmas. So guys, for me, I got to go, and you know how rarely I do this. This is a 4-wipe movie.
Wow. So if we were to take 4 wipes from Gene, 2.5 wipes from myself, and 2 wipes from Big D, then divide by the 3 of us, and that will give us our overall Shat score. Gene, which is what?
Raj, the overall Shat score for Nightmare Before Christmas is 2.83 repeating wipes.
And Big D, if we were to compare that with the other rankings we've done here and the Pantheon of Shat, where does that rank Nightmare Before Christmas?
This makes me really sad. I was just thinking of Brody. She's, Mom, I think they've got the podcast. She hits play, and her like happiness, it slowly starts to fade away, and it turns into a frown. Maybe then she cries. She pulls off the headphones. She runs into her room. She closes the door. Gail has to knock on it. Brody, what's the matter? Come out. I don't want to talk, Mom. And she won't come out. And that's because of us. We're doing this to her.
Yeah.
This is movie number 135. And this is now tied in the 85 spot with Big, License to Drive, and Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. It is slightly better than Flatliners, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it is worse than Roadhouse, My Cousin Vinny, and LA Story.
This is slightly better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
And this is 145 movies, not 135. This is our 145.
No, it's actually 135 original, and then we've had it's 136 because we have one that's in the can that comes out tomorrow. The rest of them are the re-releases.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, I disagree that it's better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Listen, if you haven't watched The Toys That Make Us on Netflix, they do a whole thing on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the movie, it was, again, we talk about it on the podcast, the highest grossing independent movie, and it was based on the dark and gritty version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I would play that before I would play Nightmare Before Christmas.
I'm sorry, Brody.
That being said, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our shout outs and tell you what next movie we are doing, which happens to be themed around the holidays. But we'll start with you, Gene. Do we have any holiday shout outs?
We do have some holiday shout outs, Raj. They're our way of saying thank you for going shatthemovies.com and exploring the site where you can vote for future movies, see our back catalog, and you can even buy t-shirts and other merch at shatthemovies.com/merch. Plenty to do there, so go check it out. While you're there, you can get your shout out or go straight to shatthemovies.com/shout out. This week's shout outs go to Rick from Oz, Raging Krull, Krull K. Krolensky, the K stands for Krull, Eddie Cunamium, Florida Mama Llama, Gene sounds like douche, but he's douche for the people, and Left Terry loves you. So thanks everyone for getting in your shout outs. Again, if you want to hear your name on the podcast, it's completely free. Just go to shatthemovies.com. We'll see you there. Back to you, Raj.
And Big D, we're calling an audible because it is Christmas season. We had a Christmas voting category in mind before the wave of commissions hit shatthemovies.com. And so we are going to take a week break from our commissions to do a holiday themed movie, just like what we did here with Nightmare Before Christmas. And this was a voting category that we actually were returning back to our roots.
Yes, unlike Jack in Halloweentown, we care about what the people think. So we went out and we asked them what movies they'd want to see. And of the 6 movies, they chose one. Now, Nightmare Before Christmas was in the 6, so that didn't win, but we just covered it. The other movies are Jack Frost. The movie you'll love, Roger Roper, is Ernest Saves Christmas, The Ref, The Muppet Christmas Carol, or The Santa Claus. So stay to the trailer to hear what we're doing next. But this one should be a happy holiday movie and should leave everybody smiling and not crying in their bed alone, wishing they had never heard of Shat the Movies.
I think Brody's tougher than you guys give her credit for. I think she's like, yeah, you right.
Yeah, she's Irish. She's Irish. The Irish are a strong people. They've faced a lot of adversity, and they've come out stronger and better people as a result of it.
All right, Tim Burton.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow the handle at Shat the Movies. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for Shat the Movies. Again, that website is shatthemovies.com, where you can get shout outs or vote on upcoming movies and purchase stuff from our merch store. You can use the promo code SHAT20, SHAT20, to save 20% off your purchases through the end of the year. If you want to email us, connect with us, you can do that by emailing hosts@shatthemovies.com. You can also support the podcast through upcoming commissions. All of the information, if you do want to commission something, is there on our support page on the website. Again, I do want to thank Emmett in Orange and Brody for hanging out with us and being fans of the podcast and supporting it. Really does help us. So thank you so much. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen, where this week, Gene, is the final season episode. King B, yourself, and I have been covering that over there. You can check out all the past episodes, viewer email at Shat on TV. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene the Pumpkin King Lyons, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for the following Christmas movie review. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Happy holidays. Good night and good luck.
And kids, next week, don't think you can listen, because there's going to be some stuff you should not hear. Okay? So get your parents' permission first.
Dad, I heard a clatter.
Somebody's on the roof.
Maybe it's Santa.
Not now, Charlie.
This Christmas, Scott Calvin's getting into the spirit the only way he can.
Hey, you!
Whoa! By accident.
If something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do.
He's Santa. You killed him.
Did not.
Check out Santa's sleigh.
When you put on the suit, you fell subject to the Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus? What does that mean?
It means you put on the suit, you're the big guy.
Ha!
Santa, how come your clothes are so baggy?
Do you want this doll or not? Go back to sleep. I shave in the morning, in the afternoon. I look like this.
Oh, my God.
Calvin, your weight. What happened? Bee sting. What, you put on a little weight? Does this look like a little weight to you?
You look distressed.
I'm way past distress. I'm talking to an elf. He's not Santa.
Oh, my God.
He is too, Santa! Wait, I'm not done.
Fax me.
This is our perpetrator. This one's not going to be easy to find.
Want the bright red suit and beard give him away?
Who's down there?
Santa, you're fatter this year.
Have a piece of fruit, for God's sake.
This holiday season,
Incoming!
Tim Allen is giving till it hurts.
Johnny, naughty. Gary, nice. Veronica, very nice.
The Santa Claus.
You're a 1,200-year-old elf? You look pretty good for your age.
Thanks, but I'm seeing someone in wrapping. Daddy,
Yes?
I want to get my ears pierced.
Okay, well, we'll get your ears pierced. Is there anything else you want to tell people out there? Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Miss Emma.
Hi.